It's not live until I see it live. I tell everybody this all the time. It says it is, let's see if I see our shining faces on there, Indira. And here we go. It says video is live now. There we are. Yay. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. How are you, Cheryl?
Well, we are 2 days away from my 50th birthday. I'm in the final 48 hours. Huh?
Happy early birthday.
Thank
That's
you.
awesome.
Thank you. I'll actually be sort of near you in a couple weeks. We're going to Miami for a weekend. Okay. And so how far away are you from Miami?
About 4 hours.
Okay, not too close. But I will be there to celebrate, to spend a weekend with some friends, and I'm excited. So I want to first say thank you for agreeing to come and talk to the community today about the very special work that you do. And for those of you who are watching, whether it's live, which is great, but if not on the replay, Indira Cozine is very special. I met her through a Females in Finance. We had some connection before that through Stephen Good at 1847 Financial. And then really, I was listening to you at the Females in Finance Florida meetup. And a lot of times I hear individuals come to those meetings to talk about the work they're doing. But I remembered writing your name down and I said, she's special. She's unique. Oh. And you're all going to see this in a minute. You're going to understand what this means. What I want to do is give her a proper introduction because Indira is dedicated to serving the transitioning military family members, individuals, friends that are out there. And she's a former educator of 18 years. She's dedicated to that transitioning military person, but she's also works with young professionals, teachers, and helps them with strategies to achieve that financial goal that they're after. She lives in Tampa. She's married to a retired Marine. I first off say thank you for your service.
While the Marines
I know. Ryan Penny will probably pop in and he will be the first one to say that. And Brian Haney is watching. Hi, Brian. How are you?
Hi.
I am very excited because, well, first I want to say, and I've said this almost every time we get on the calls together, but thank you for you and your family's service.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me today.
Oh, no. And she's so humble. I literally wrote next to your name, she is special. And it's because Indira came to a meeting and not a financial advisor for a long period of time. So, and sometimes that kind of puts a hiccup in our thinking, maybe our presentation to some degree, but she knows her stuff. And it's how she introduced herself that I went back, not only contacted her, but I called Stephen Good and was like, you got somebody there that's really doing something unique. And he's like, yeah, she is. She really is. Why don't you start off and tell everybody about your work with veterans as a financial advisor? Talk about that a little bit more and you'll see why Indira is so special.
Sure. So thank you again, Cheryl, so much for having me today. And it's all about giving back. I live by the phrase, service is the rent we pay for a living. We were just talking about that earlier by Marian Wright Edelman. It truly is about giving back. And I want to serve those who have served us. So that's why I chose this population as my target market. And not only to mention, also my husband is a retired Marine and my business partner is a retired Air Force colonel. And we were working in the agency, toiling away, looked over at each other across our cubes pre-COVID and looked at each other and just said, you know what, why don't we start working together? And we did that. And it's been a wonderful ride working with this population ever since. And what I realize is that they're a population, the transitioning military don't have as many resources as we would like them to have when they are going through this process and this transition. When my husband was retiring, he wasn't on a base. So he didn't go through the full transition assistance program. He went through something that he refers to as TAP Light, because he wasn't on a base. So if it wasn't for his mentor, who was working in the private sector and encouraged him, his mentor was working for a pharmaceutical company. he wouldn't have known anything about the pharmaceutical industry and how his skills could have possibly transitioned over there. So it's all about working with and sharing information with a population that needs the information and doesn't necessarily have it. And I thought that I could, myself and my business partner, could be true resources to the population. It's an underserved community by the wealth management industry. There are only two companies really that target this industry. USAA is one of them that most military families know, but they've siphoned off their investment arm to Charles Schwab, so they're not even handling investments anymore. And then the other one is First Command. They work with a lot of military families, and we're thankful for both companies, but these families are just limited in their options. So we wanted to open up some more doors for them.
I really love this. And, I want to make certain I acknowledge a couple of things here. One person saying thank you for your service as well. I mean, this
Thank
is
you.
another situation where, people are just super grateful. But, you're right. I think one of the things that I find interesting, our pro part of the community that we have for our marketing, I spent last November around Veterans Day talking about how do you work with the military, because there's a misnomer. And I think we're going to talk about this a little bit as you and I go through this next half hour or so together. But, you can't just walk up on a base and be like, hi. Yeah, look, no, that was like, you're not doing that.
Right. You can't solicit on the basis.
No.
Yeah.
No. And the other thing too is it's very difficult as well from a community perspective in their brain. So part of my father was in the service, and I grew up with the beds are made at 600, breakfast is at 6:30. We literally had it. And it's funny, and I think I'm a little militant in how I do things too, because I can do something to the very end, and finish it out, because no matter how difficult or whatnot. But I think because it's a mindset that's taught into that. My father, and you and I had this private dialogue before, but I'm going to share this with everyone. You're going to see why in the next little bits here of what we're talking to Indira about. When my father left the service, he was and has been, I think, to some degree, a little lost, because when you leave behind, your breakfast was there, and you knew what you were eating. Your clothes were already pre-chosen. Everything was very pre-planned out. He had a way he behaved, and now he's out into this world, and he was a little, well, what do I do?
It's daunting. Yeah, because everything is kind of laid out and told to them. Yeah. Very few decisions are made. And now the world is their oyster. They have lots of decisions to make.
Yeah. And that leads me to ask, what are some of the things that the veterans are concerned the most with during that transition? Because I can look back now as an adult, not as a child, but look at my dad as an adult and say, it was too much oyster. He needed a little bit more shell.
A little more direction.
Yeah. And so he actually left and did the very natural thing to him, which was go work at McDonnell Douglas, which is Boeing, because he knew how to work on aircraft, because he'd already done that before. Right. And it made a good career for him for 35 years. I think he probably could have been so much more, and not to take away, because he had a great job.
Right.
But he knew that job. And there weren't individuals such as yourself there to help guide him along that way either.
Correct. And a lot of what we found is that a lot of members do get contract jobs, or they work for other military, very, very, very veteran advocate companies, but their main concern during that transition process is getting that next job. They need to and want to provide for their family. So that's top of mind, because they're not going to have conversations about their finances if they don't have finances to deal with. They want to take care of that job. So making sure that we're getting them connected and helping them prepare for that job is critical. Transferring their skills. I mentioned my husband previously. He was a drill instructor. He was a Marine. he didn't know how to take his leadership skills and move them into private sector.
Mm-hmm.
He was unsure of what industry to move into. Had it not been for his mentor working in a pharmaceutical company, he wouldn't have had the almost 20-year career that he's had in the pharmaceutical industry that he's had today. You know,
Yeah.
so having someone understand the skills that they've honed in the military and how to transfer those skills into private sector, again, it's one of understanding those transfer abilities is critical for them, and showing them how to do that. Maximizing their benefits is another concern. They have a VA disability income, a VA disability rating that is tied to an income.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on how those claims are set up and how they're submitted, determines how they're going to be paid out. That's another income stream that comes to them during their retirement. We want to make sure that they understand how best to do that and how best to utilize VA benefits advisors to be able to submit that claim appropriately. Understanding the survivor benefit plan. Is it the best option for me or not? Converting their service members group life insurance to
Mm-hmm.
the veterans group life insurance. Is that a good decision for me? Well, for some, yes, it is, but maybe not for everyone. And also their thrift savings plan, which is the military's 401k. It can be a traditional TSP or a Roth TSP, and now they've even got a blended one that has a match to it.
Mm-hmm.
But understanding, how best to maximize that retirement benefit that they have is critical for them. So those are their main concerns that they have during that transition period. Also, in preparing for their next retirement, they've just spent 20 some years in the military. They don't necessarily want to work until 65, 67, or 70, full retirement age, or beyond. They may want to work until earlier age. They need the information to help get them get there at that whatever age it may be that they want to have that second career. And if they have families with young children, they're concerned too with college planning. They do have access to the GI Bill, but the GI Bill only pays for 4 years for one child. What if they have multiple children? They've got to get creative with the college planning. So those are the main concerns that we find our clients having during this time.
And it's funny. A couple of things I want to show you on here was, so this is Renee Norse, and she said, "What a great topic, since this network of our country's protectors need to be taken care of." And she is indeed 1000% correct.
So true.
And then Ruby Yua down, and she's in Miami. And she said too on here that she loves this great deal of information. Not all veterans undersee coordinating Medicare with TRICARE, and she would love to be able to help you with that too and talk to you. So I think that's important.
Please reach out.
Yeah, I'll make certain. I wrote down to connect you. One of the things I also wrote down, because I actually posted about this in our life hacks, I have a life hack series, because these were actually all things that people talked about when you guys are just making little comments and such. I take note in a little special notebook that we talked about, my notebook, before we got on here. One of my life hacks that was just this week was assurance versus certainty. And anybody who has grown up in military, been through any of the arms, they are not about assurance. They are about certainty.
Right.
My father wants to know, how certain are you of that? They want to know. I think that's really important when you talk about what the veterans are most concerned with during a transition. So you can't just come into an unserved or underrepresented community like that and say to them that you can assure them that this is going to be. That literally doesn't even register in my dad's ears at all.
No.
He wants to hear the certainty. You know what I mean? So those subtleties are the things that you work with professionals on that I think are super important for people to understand, where someone like Indira brings a level of expertise that doesn't mean that you don't have it, but hers is just at a level that's much higher. And I really encourage, if you've not met her, connected with her, that you do that. One of the other questions that I wanted to also run past you was, what are some of the high level needs that these families need or these individuals need today?
So again, it's dealing with those main concerns that I mentioned earlier, how to operate and to transfer those skills into private sector. Networking is a huge thing that is not necessarily natural to the military community, but it's very necessary for us in the private sector in corporate America. This is a foreign concept, connecting with people on LinkedIn, reaching out and having or asking for informational interviews. These are all new concepts for them. So
Yeah.
having these conversations, to talk to them about doing just those things and opening their network. What we do is we open up our network to the families that we meet with. We help them remove some of that angst, because we know that, like I said, if they don't get that job, they're not going to have finances for us to work with. So we want to remove some of that fear and that angst of making those connections by opening up our networks to the families that we sit with. The other thing that, a critical need, as I mentioned before, is giving advice around the benefits that they have. They've spent 20 some odd years in the military, not going to the doctor at all, but very strategically, because if they have a medical issue in their records, they're no longer deployable.
Yeah.
And they don't want that, because they came in to learn and to grow and to, see the world and to go to the various bases and to have those opportunities. So they're not going to the doctor until they get close to their retirement. They put all these things into their medical records, and then they go out on after retirement, after their life insurance has ended with the service, and they're looking for life insurance. Well, sometimes that works in their favor, sometimes it doesn't. I will say we have worked with people who have been rated as 100% disabled. Their rating is 100%. They still went through underwriting with flying colors. So just because we come across someone who has a high rating doesn't necessarily mean that they're uninsurable. The way that the VA disability rating system works is very different from underwriting.
Exactly.
And we need to educate them on that, and again, share some options with them. Talking to them about the survivor benefit plan. Is that appropriate for their family? Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. But going through an analysis to show them exactly whether it is or not is what we do when we sit down with them.
Yeah, I love this. There's some questions popping up, of course, now you've brought up some topics. And so I've got another, I think it's important for you to know there's another thank you for your service, and that's
Thank
from
you so much.
Libby. So Daryl wants to know, do veterans have to wait until full retirement age to claim their retirement? Do you know?
No, when you say full retirement age to claim, no, they have to go through their transition to claim their retirement. So it's not, they have to do 20 years. Sometimes it's fewer years if there are medical reasons, but to get to retirement, they do have to do 20 years of service.
Yeah. And here's another one. Veterans are great for our profession because they're disciplined. And that is true.
So
you and
true.
I talked about this the last meeting that we had. And, we have tried in the past, and I think I need to work a little bit, with you on how do we, because you talked about the networking. One of the other things I told you when we met about my dad. So my dad doesn't when he left the service, doesn't have a lot of friends because he didn't know how to network.
Uh-huh.
He was like,
It happens.
what do I do now? So he went to work, like I mentioned, went to McDonnell Douglas. He got a job. It was a great job. He did that job. But outside of that, not so much, and I think that's where teaching how to network, providing a network that they're welcome within. I think it's
Right.
really important,
Very important. And we're really fortunate to have a nonprofit organization. I'll put in a little plug for Project Transition USA here in the Tampa Bay area. They do a LinkedIn seminar on base, and they talked about the power of LinkedIn and connecting with those in private sector and having those informational interviews.
Yeah.
Um,
And it is important for them to understand, because in the past, this is that what you just said really hits a heartstring for me, because going into an interview when you're used to going in and being told what to do, to this is your job, and then
right.
you do that job and you behave in a way, and now you have to go in to almost an amoeba like, yeah, and you're like, I don't understand. Sometimes it's even, I'll hear and I pick on my dad a lot because I spent a lot of time with them over those years, and he'll say to me, I don't understand your question, and it's like, well, what do you think about that? It's just this, so that part, that expounding, and I'm not to short sell that, because he's got such good, like, I'll never forget one of the things my dad could do that I thought was just amazing was he would take a napkin out and just draw out plans on things, and knew how to measure and do all of that, because he could create something and then make it. And that's a transferable skill that is so amazing.
Absolutely.
And I would talk to him about that, and he would be like, really? He just thought, I'm like, yeah, I'm not drawing anything on a napkin and going and building
it. What I do.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So I love the fact that, and I am going to make certain we have a link for that Project Transition USA. I had never heard of that. Let's see. You have another question on here, or this is from Renee as well. Renee North says, are there resources or training for financial advisors to understand and learn the best practices for working with veterans? One is to contact Indira.
Great question. Reach out to me, please.
Yeah.
I am fortunate enough to be working with a retired Air Force colonel, and he has taught me a lot in this process. But I have to think about that. Not necessarily resources for financial advisors, but there are just resources for veterans in general that we tap into and do a lot of research for ourselves. All of the information about their programs and their benefits are public knowledge. So you can look up information about VA disability ratings and the survivor benefits plan, as well as converting to veterans group life insurance and the thrift savings plan. You can look up information about all of that online.
So that kind of leads into our next question, which was, how can you help other females and finance members with their military clients? Because as you mentioned, so I want to be very clear. When I taught the marketing course in our pro community about this topic, I was very clear. You can't just walk into a base. You're not doing that. No. You're not doing that.
No, you're not listed on a base.
No. And then, you're also have to understand that you can't just, create some marketing piece and then boost it on Facebook. And I'm telling you, that is a social media marketer, because they're also going back to the assurance versus certainty. They're going, I don't know you.
Right.
And you have to build that trust. That's where someone like you, who knows how to speak that language, becomes so, so empowering for that advisor.
Sure.
So talk about the things that you do.
Sure. So I would be happy to do joint work with any of the advisors listening, to leverage my expertise. I'm happy to sit in and work with your clients if you come across someone who is transitioning out of the military, or if you just have a question that you want to ask. I'd be happy to answer any questions or be a resource for you if you happen to have a client. I'd be happy to do that.
I think that Indira has a coaching business that is going to percolate from this. I believe in
Else
paying
do.
for
One
stuff
thing
like
at a
that.
time right now.
I know. I give her a hard time because I figure if I stretch her like a rubber band, then she can't go back to the way it was. But no, I think that that's really important because many of us today we run into someone and we're like, oh, we can help them. Not sure exactly how, but I think I can, and this is right here in front of you. You have this level of expertise in this community through someone like Indira who knows the space, near and dear. Where do you find, and I don't mean to throw you off guard with this question, but where are you when you do have a military family or a member come to you that transitions where you've seen financial advisors make mistakes in the past? That you're kind of like, okay, I understand. And you're kind of cleaning that up, if that makes any sense. Like I can see some things like for instance, in my family, my dad he was very particular about his accountant. His
Okay.
accountant was in the service.
Yeah.
There's a trend here. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a trend. But have you seen or encountered that in the past?
Well, what I have come across is one of the things that we've seen is that a lot of military members have a lot of term insurance, which is very fantastic. It works for the time, for the moment. It provides peace of mind for a moment in time, but that ends.
Yeah.
They don't know the power of permanent insurance. And that's one of the conversations that we like to have is coupling the permanent lifelong insurance that has living benefits with some of the investment options that they have. So I don't want to
Well, and for
bash
fee only planners that are, and this
any
is really impressed. This is really important for fee only planners who are watching right now, where this is not their jam. I know you. It's not your
right.
jam. Okay. This is where somebody like this says, okay, I've got you. I can explain that because one of the things I can tell you as a life insurance underwriter for quite a few years, and
Mm-hmm.
nothing is sadder than watching somebody who's served come back and say, I didn't know I could, I could convert this policy to a permanent policy.
Right,
And they
right.
let
And
it was gone.
they let it lapse. Right. And the thing is, typically after they've retired, they're your ideal client.
Yeah.
They're in their mid 40s, typically are married and have a family, and they've got three income streams coming in. They have their retirement, they have their VA disability, and they have a salary from another job. So now they're truly in a position with these multiple income streams to afford a permanent policy and get some of the living benefits that it can provide.
Yeah. No, I think that's really important. And I know that I've mentioned on here through Facebook, many of you are asking questions, which I love. Keep them coming though, because this is your moment live to ask those questions because anything you're thinking, somebody else is doing too. So I know that one thing came up on here, and that's Ruby. She said, I'm in Florida. Let's connect.
Yay! Please do.
Yeah. And then Renee Norris said, yay, will do on your resource and training information. So that was good to hear as well. Ruby also posted, some of us have had to learn everything about VA benefits to help our loved ones. There are cases where the veteran isn't insurable or highly rated, still plenty of options. And I'm loving
Yes,
everything Indira is sharing with us.
absolutely. And there are guaranteed issue companies that we also put some of our families in touch with for that very reason. VGLI is increasing term insurance. Again, it works for some for a moment in time, but sometimes it gets to be too expensive. So we look at some other options and share those options with our families.
Yeah. No, I think that's important. And I know that, with Ruby, it's her brother, I believe, Ruby, if my memory serves me correctly, your brother was in the service or is still in the service. So Ruby lives this life very much like you as well. I mean, that's, her family's also out there serving, which I'm grateful for that as well. I know my husband, Daryl,
Fantastic.
that's a big one too.
Thank
How
you for your
about,
Ruby.
Spanish speaking communities?
Great question. I am not a Spanish speaker. And we don't have any currently in our office, although
Okay.
with 1847, we do have an office in Boca and in
Okay.
Coral Gables. So if you reach out to me, I can put you in touch with, I know we have advisors who are Spanish speaking and can reach out to the Spanish speaking community as well. So I
Well, and
cannot.
I'm
I'm
just thinking about some.
bilingual,
Well, I happen to
unfortunately.
be thinking about some of those base cities like in Texas and in Florida and in California. They have a
Right.
lot of Spanish speaking veterans, and
Absolutely.
in their families. So I think that that's important to be able to have that as well. But
Sure.
any questions? This is your time to pick the great mind of Indira, who we have so much in common when we talk. It's crazy. And Ruby said she's willing to help with that. She speaks Spanish. So there you go. She might be a good connection there on that. But any final parting words too that you want to make certain that people remember as they talk about this?
Just make sure that you're sharing information, talking, helping to remove some of the angst around getting that job, because that is first and foremost on the minds of
Yeah.
those who are transitioning. But not just that, the more information they can receive, the better. So they can make an informed decision about maximizing those benefits, as well as talking to them about other that may not be government benefits.
Yeah.
One thing that we did find out, or that I learned recently, is with the 100% VA disabled rating in the state of Florida. Not all states carry this, but Florida allows veterans to take care of their college tuition for their children if
Wow.
they are 100% disabled, along with not having to pay property taxes on the homes that they own. So you can get these resources online. Again, if you look at your state, I know here in Florida, like I said, you can look up Florida benefits for veterans.
Mm-hmm.
There's a plethora of information there that you can find about the benefits that Florida affords to the veteran community. And I'm
I love
sure
that.
that's the case across the country.
Do you have a resource? I just thinking this. Do you have a resource page of those on on your page at 1847 or something?
I don't, but I'll make a note to make sure that I get
I think
that
that'd be a
to
really
you.
good idea.
Definitely, I will do that.
Yeah,
It
I think
would
that's a
be.
really good idea. And then that way, like I mentioned, we can, sort of point back to this because this was just really great. And I have to tell you that Stephen Good said we have folks that can help with Spanish speaking at 1847. He had your
Yeah,
back.
I know, Steve.
He was letting
We
you
do
know.
have on the East Coast, yes, in the
Yeah.
Boca and in the Coral Gables office, we do
She
have advisors.
knew.
I
She had
mentioned
it.
it.
I think that's so funny. But no, this has just been really just a tremendous resource. And I want you to feel free. After we get done, I know that we have an informational thing that I'm going to link into so people can see that in the comments on here. And I'll make certain, I wrote down a bunch of names of people that I definitely want to connect you with that were on here and some others. Beyond this, Indira, you've just been, like I said, you were very special. I tell you that every time we
Thank
connect.
you so much, Cheryl. You are
Just
too. You're doing this for the female advisors. We really appreciate you.
I just appreciate hearing that. It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun work, and I always have to push the kudos on to my husband as well, because behind all the craziness is my husband, who comes in, instead of saying, or how much longer, he'll bring me a fresh glass of water or something and be like, good job. And I can't do that without the support system that I have here at home. So it's just all very
Awesome.
cyclical, very
And we
cyclical.
all
So
need support systems, which is
we
why we want
do,
community. We
we
definitely
do.
want support systems to our veteran community.
Well, I appreciate this time today and look forward to connecting you to some great new friends. And feel free to
Fantastic.
share your expertise in the group as often as you like, as this has just been fabulous. You're the
Thank
best.
you.
All
Thank
right.
you. You are too, Cheryl. Thanks so much. I appreciate being here.
Anytime. Take care. Bye now.
You too. Bye-bye.